Hello and welcome to Food Rebels. This is the podcast that brings you brands, chefs and live on-air tastings. A show that is dedicated to the more rebellious side of the food world, where we celebrate the people who have challenged the status quo. AJ is still away this week, working hard on her MBA. So you have me, the producer for Food Rebels, Georgie Parsons, and I am joined again by Sam Beeny from the food and drinks PR agency Sharp Relations. Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Sam, are you a coffee fan?
I've got a confession which I was saving for this.
Oh, wow.
I am a coffee fan, but only from about 6 months ago.
Oh, wow. A newbie. Oh, well, you have got a treat in store for you today, that's for sure. So today's guests are inexplicably linked, really, by their products, but the end results are very different and they make a really great partnership. So I'm really excited to have on Theo Garcia from Solo Coffee. Hi, Theo.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
And Holly Harwood, from CAFÉ SOLO. So welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Really lovely to have you on. So I'm super excited because I'm a massive coffee fan. I normally only limit myself to one coffee a day and I've already had one. So this is going to be taking me over. I'm going to be buzzing for the rest of the day, but I can't wait.
The smell is just amazing in here. It smells so good.
It's really delicious. So Theo, let's start with you. Solo Coffee, you've been running this for 4 years and you were baristas to begin with. Is that right?
That is right, although maybe more than 4 years. I would say, we kind of came up with the idea a long time ago, and then 2018 is when it was born, which is crazy. That's now 6 years ago.
Oh, gosh, that is. Yeah.
Wow.
But this product that you're drinking today and that's been most of our success was end of 2020 it came out.
So lockdown.
It was an inspiration from lockdown, yeah.
Okay.
Very good timing, actually. Just with the world reopening, our product then managed to get into the trade at the right time.
So was this that you were a barista and then you stopped because of lockdown and then you decided, right, what else can I do? I need to fill my time and, come up with something different?
Kind of. It was... So from a very young age, like many young people, I just started working in cafes and then got totally obsessed with making the coffee and then went down that road of how good can I get at making a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Started working for some amazing cafes, doing a lot of commuting for minimum wage barista jobs, but I was just completely obsessed with coffee. Then I competed in a coffee brewing championship, an Aeropress championship, and I won that.
Wow.
And then, thank you. It was a long time
and what do you have to do to win? I mean, what do you get judged on?
You're all given the same coffee, and then you all have to brew the best cup of coffee out of that, and then it's blind tasted, and then judges choose which one's the best. So it's very much down to how good you are at brewing a cup of coffee, which is down to knowing recipes, knowing grind size, steeping time, all of that stuff. So I really was obsessed with it. Then went into training baristas and working for other coffee companies. And I kind of and at the same time, I met my co-founder, Alex, he was working in the wine industry before. And then he went to Colombia and he then kind of transitioned into coffee, as you do, which because I think there's a lot of similarities. Well, we both wanted to have a business together and it was going to be coffee, but I think there was something about Alex working in the wine industry where we thought the thing about wine is that you're judging it based on the finished product, but so often with coffee, you're judging it based on the bean, and then there's so much expertise needed in brewing it.
Between, yeah. I mean, my husband is obsessed with coffee and he has become recently, and we have the coffee machine, the grinder, we have separate grinders. I mean, he will spend hours trying to get the right grind size, trying to get the right pressure through it, all this. I'm like, just give me a cup of coffee. But this is what I've realized. It's an art form. It's not just a press an espresso capsule and whatever comes out. Like the amount of different flavors that he's finding and beans and all this kind of stuff. It's as you're right, it's exactly the same like wine. It's such a huge parameters and so wide, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And that's what got me excited about it. But you also hit the nail on the head where you said, just give me a cup of coffee. And I think all the places I was working in, that was the priority. Everybody loved and appreciated good coffee, but they weren't necessarily like your husband in that they wanted to spend most of their morning working out.
Exactly. And that's what I said to him. I was like, I'm really happy for you to have these really niche coffees, but I'd like my one that, because I only have one a day. I don't want it to buy one that I don't like. So I want the set one that I know that I like and all that kind of stuff. And then you can mess around with your kind of more specialty ones, which, you know, some of them I like, but some of them a bit fermented and
So on that note, I mean, I guess that I felt that we knew how to make great coffee, but there was no good ready-to-drink coffee in the UK. It was mostly very close to milkshakes. It was just iced lattes with soluble coffee and lots of sugar, lots of milk.
Yeah.
So that was where it started, as we were like, we're going to make really good cold brew, because there wasn't any cold brew in the UK, and it's a really good representation of the coffee bean itself. And it's, you know, you can have it black and appreciate all the flavors and stuff.
So I'm just going to stop you here because I want you to explain exactly what the product is, because I have never seen a product like this before, of coffee. So I've seen beans, ground coffee, I've seen instant coffee, but this is none of those.
Yeah, I'd like to think it's a hybrid of all of them, and it's kind of coming after each separate channels in the industry, I think. So yeah, what it is cold brew is coffee that's brewed with cold water. And the reason people do that is that the brewing process holds a lot of the aromatic complexity. So all of the flavors themselves remain intact, and you can preserve that flavor for a long time. Whereas if you make a hot coffee and cool it down, within that cooling process, you lose a lot of the flavor, and then you're left with something that's very bitter and flat. And
okay,
all
interesting.
The rest.
Interesting.
I'm desperate to give it a try.
You give it a go, and I'll. So it's a liquid. It comes in a bottle, like a
Tetra Pak.
A Tetra Pak bottle.
Carton, yeah.
A carton. Sorry, that's a better word for it. And you pour it. And then what do? I mean, how do you then use it? So
yeah, so just to go from cold brew, because most people know cold brew to be something else, we then realised that wasn't really selling in the UK. The UK is very much used to milky tea, and we were trying to give them cold black coffee, and I think that was a step too far. So then we made this espresso strength cold brew coffee, which we call the coffee concentrate. The reason we did that was because we were finding that in bars they were using our cold brew because there was such a big need to make the process of making an espresso martini much easier. And so then we were like, well, we'll actually make something that will replace the need for a fresh espresso using our expertise in cold brewing, and then create something that's like a espresso, except hopefully got more complexity than a hot espresso cooled down.
okay, so you pour it into a glass, and then you can add hot water to it. So can you make it into a kind of Americano if you wanted to, or like? You
can, exactly. However you might use an espresso, you can use our product. So in the carton, there's between 20 and 40 servings. So it's a lot of coffee in one carton. That's why we don't sell it in retail, because it's like very much a wholesale product. And yeah, people make iced lattes, cold brew by diluting with cold water, or a hot Americano with hot water, or espresso martinis. And
what you've made for us today is, can you hear that? Lovely iced latte.
Give it a go. It tastes delicious.
And I saw you poured the milk in, and then you poured some coffee over the top.
Yeah.
And some ice cubes.
Basically like squash.
Yeah.
Squash for adults.
Squash for adults. And that is delicious, because sometimes with iced lattes, they're really bitter. And you have to add a sweetener to make it not so bitter.
It's because you're putting hot coffee in cold.
See, I'm learning so much.
So what I'm finding is when I'm a coffee drinker, I'll have 2 sweeteners in with my coffee, but I don't need that. This is really good.
I think sugar is, I mean, I don't have a problem with people putting sugar in their coffee, but often they're doing it to mask the flavour of bad coffee. So
that's interesting.
I have become a coffee snob. I have.
In the 6 months.
It's mainly my husband. We've got a bean to cup now, coffee machine, and that's how I kind of got into coffee. So now if I go to a hotel or something and there's instant coffee, I can't drink it because I absolutely still hate it. I think I love a decent coffee.
You've got a refined palate. You need to stick to it,
darling. I really do.
I have to say, though, I feel that everybody, because it's such a habitual product, you do start to get... You tend to have your preferences on how you're going to be drinking it, which is why also we made our product, which is the customizable aspect of our product is very important to its success, because I think that if something's ready to drink, except you don't like the finished product, you won't go back for it. But with ours, if you think it's too strong, then you put less. If you think it's too weak, you put more in.
So you can't buy that not in retail or anything at the moment?
Not in supermarkets. Our business is very much focused around premium liquid extract of coffee. at the moment, this is our hero product, but all of our MPD around it will be in highlighting this amazing new element of coffee, which is these premium coffee extracts. So that's just like a hint at maybe what we'll be putting in supermarkets.
Something might be coming.
Yeah.
Something might on its way. And I can see you're launching into the US as well.
We launched in the US in December. The US is a completely different coffee market. I don't know if you've ever had a coffee in the US. But
well, it's horrible.
Well, they drink a lot more of it,
Yeah.
and it's a much bigger country. And I'd say the biggest difference is they love innovation generally. I think they're always looking for new things. And in the UK, especially in the food and drink market, we hold on to our traditions. And so that's been hard for us in trying to get people to try new things. But in the US, they're very
open to it.
Very much so.
But they're very kind of filter coffee.
Yeah.
Aren't they? They're big on the filter coffee, and it's not all so much. It's not really about the frothing of the milk and all that kind of stuff. Whereas I'd say that's why it's bad. I think it's bad coffee because I'm I love a flat white and stuff like that. So to me, a filter coffee doesn't really do it so much for me.
Yeah, I mean, filter's kind of my favourite way of drinking coffee if I'm not having solo. But I think, but not. That's not to say you're wrong. I definitely think European and Australia and New Zealand, some countries is just espresso based, and others are filter based. But a good coffee is a good coffee, and how you then brew it doesn't necessarily decide whether it's good or not.
Sure.
So where do you get the coffee beans from? Is it important?
I guess it is important. It's important to the consumer's opinion of the coffee. But, I mean, we get our coffee from Colombia and Brazil,
right,
and a few Central American countries, but that depends on the seasons. The taste is more the important thing. So we try to get the tasting notes that we think that the customer will like the most. So what you were saying earlier about all of this specialty coffee, that some of them taste a bit crazy and maybe not to everyone's liking. I think we tried to make something that was like a people pleaser, and had all of the nice tasting notes that people are expecting. So stuff like chocolatey, nutty, which hopefully you're getting through the milk.
But I think it's like craft beer, isn't it? You have all these different types, and some people really like some ones that are quite funky, and then there's another people just like a general list of one, a pale ale. Exactly. Like so you're kind of in every sector. There seems to be a range, isn't it? And people have different ways that they want to experience things, and people have different palates. But I think this is a really lovely, easy drinking coffee that is, as you said, it's a crowd pleaser.
We've heard that you may be diversifying a little bit, which is very interesting. Is why we've got Holly here.
Hello.
Hi, Holly. So, do you want to tell us more?
Yeah, so I'm here today with CAFÉ SOLO coffee liqueur, and we partner with Solo Coffee, and so we use their amazing espresso strength cold brew in our coffee liqueur. So yeah, a little bit of background about the company. I'm the brand manager. I actually created this brand and the liquid and the design, which I'm really excited about. And the company is owned by Warren Scott, who used to be the CEO of Quintessential Brands, so like Bloom Gin, Opia. And he's very good at sort of understand the premium spirits market. And so this is the first brand in the new portfolio of premium, and the premium brands company is called Fortitude Spirits. So yeah, Warren actually is a big lover of coffee and met Theo and Alex. So I don't know if you want to tell a little bit about that story and how that started CAFÉ SOLO.
Yeah, sure. So, we were getting investment last year. We got speaking to Warren, and he seemed like the perfect person to come on board the journey. And I think from the very first meeting, he got quite excited. I'd hope for our business, but also what the business can then do, and very quickly saw the opportunity to create a new brand alongside it.
So, Holly, how do you go about creating a new liqueur?
Yeah, well, I mean, we did a lot of research into coffee liqueurs, and what we found is that there isn't a lot out there.
No, I'm not sure I've ever really seen one.
Yeah, so obviously there's like the main ones in the market. Am I allowed to say other brand names and things like that? So yeah, there's like Kahlua. So most people will use those sort of brands.
Okay, yeah.
And I did a lot of research by going to different bars and restaurants, and what I was finding was that a lot of bartenders in nice, fancy places were making their own coffee liqueur because they were finding the coffee liqueurs on the market far too sweet and just wouldn't give that coffee hit. And so we wanted to make a premium coffee liqueur that it kind of was the bartender's coffee liqueur, but also made in the UK. And it has a lot less sugar, but have more of an impact of the coffee. So our coffee liqueur has 20 grams of sugar per 100 ml, where that's almost half the amount that Kahlua has.
Really? Oh, my goodness.
So if you think about it, a lot of places, they'll add sugar syrup into the cocktail as well. So we're used to that
really
real,
sweet.
And I think that's what we were talking about, before with adding sugar to a coffee, and that's absolutely fine. But I think you can always add more sugar. You can't take it away.
And I can imagine if they're using a hot espresso, which is what we just talked about, it's giving a bitter note, so they're having to add more sugar on top of it to cancel out that bitter notes to then get an espresso martini. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. We want to become we think this is the best coffee liqueur that you can get, and it's kind of the coffee lovers espresso martini, because you can always add a bit more sugar if you want, but when you try it you'll note that it's not overly sweet. So that's how that started. And then obviously we were going into the development of the liquid. We use British vodka, 5 times distilled. We use quite a lot of Solo coffee, so there was we played around with how much coffee we were going to put in there.
So in it, it's got coffee, Solo coffee, vodka,
and sugar,
yeah, and anything else, or was that
that's basically it? But it's blended.
Okay.
Yeah, it's blended to sort of the specifications to make it into that sort of lovely chocolatey. You'll taste when I think you've got a bit to try on its own.
Yeah, we're gonna.
But yeah, it's also got kind of it's very smooth. Great for sort of also amazing over ice cream.
Ooh.
If you pour it over ice cream or do like a affogato.
Wow. As I came through the nose then, I was like, wow, okay, this is strong.
Yes,
it's really nice.
Though. Really good.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the other thing. We're 25%. So other brands that are a bit sweeter, they come in sort of around 17%. So, we're going the stronger side. And coffee cocktails are so popular now, and especially espresso martini. A lot of younger people are starting to drink cold cocktails, which obviously Theo talked about before. So, coffee cocktails and they're so Instagrammable, they look pretty. And I think, it's having that sort of less alcohol but better. So it's the better quality. So people are really thinking about the quality of the ingredients they're putting in their cocktails now.
So we've got this delicious looking espresso martini here.
Beans and all.
First of all, there is apparently something about the beans. So tell us about the beans first.
Yeah, so there's traditionally you put 3 coffee beans on the top, and they represent health, wealth and happiness.
I love that.
So the 3 beans are nice, important. So this is...
do you drink the beans or do you leave the beans? Tell me about the consumption of the beans.
You could. I mean, I like the idea of having the chocolate beans on the top as well. They'd be quite nice. But
yes, I have had those before, the coffee chocolate ones.
But so this is just 3 ingredients, and this is made with our CAFÉ SOLO original coffee liqueur, Solo coffee and vodka. So... yeah, you don't need to add sugar to it, but obviously if you like it sweeter, you can add a little bit more coffee liqueur, or you can add a bit of sugar syrup. But yeah, you can tell. I mean, we really probably should have done a taste test next to some other ones, because then you'll notice that sort of real punch of coffee.
Okay. But it looks beautiful. How do you get the frothiness that is that kind of iconic look of the espresso martini? How, it's not that easy to do, because I've tried to do it myself before, and they haven't turned out looking as beautiful as this.
Well, this is where the coffee comes in, and this is why we've partnered with Solo, because they do this so well. So actually, Theo, take it away and explain why the coffee.
Well, yeah, so that was our starting point for developing this product. Is we knew that it would have to have the same foam as a fresh espresso, so it's all in the coffee, the foam, and it's simply when coffee is strong enough and it has the right oils in and the right solids. When you shake it up with ice, it creates a foam. But I think the problem is...
so it's the shaking with the ice that creates the foam, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, amazing.
But it's got to have those, you know...
It's got to have the oils to emulsify with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, there are lots of cold brews that try to go into espresso martinis, and so often they struggle. It makes quite a flat, non-frothy espresso martini, and that was, priority number one. Make it look good.
Well, it doesn't only look good, it tastes delicious as well. And I'm really intrigued about actually how unsweet that is.
Yeah.
And I was talking earlier about, actually just before we came in, about how I don't really drink cocktails anymore because I find them too sweet.
Yeah.
And actually that's a really lovely balance of kind of, it's much more about the flavour than just a hit of sugar.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got, on the back of our bottle, we've got an equal parts recipe. So it's equal parts of everything. But actually what I've done with this, I've put a little bit more on our website. We have a slightly sweeter version as well. So you can just add a little bit more coffee liqueur into it. Because, you know, everyone has their different preference. But I think the great thing is that, you know, without it being so sweet to start with, you can always add more sugar. But as you say, if you've got a cocktail and it's already got, you know, a very high level of sugar in, and then you're adding more sugar, you just can't taste the coffee. And I think, you know, the espresso martini was created in the 80s by bartender Dick Bradsell. And the story goes that a model who became quite famous walked into his bar quite late at night and asked him to make a cocktail that was going to wake her up and her up. So he thought coffee, vodka, so he threw it together. And that's how the espresso martini was made. So when you're drinking an espresso martini, I think you need that really strong hit of coffee. But also, you know, you've got the vodka in there as well. So, yeah, hopefully we feel we've created a very good espresso martini.
So this is my first experience.
Oh, yes, oh my goodness, what are you thinking?
Martini. So I want to give you my truthful, honest... I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to drink a normal espresso martini now without comparing it to this, because this is really palatable. Like, you've got that kind of creaminess, you get the punch of the liqueur, but enough coffee to go, you know, it's going to wake me up. Yeah. And it's really good, guys. You did good. You did really good.
Really nice. Oh my God, I love it. This is your first live. I mean, first time I'm tasting it. It's on air. Love that. But you're about to launch CAFÉ SOLO casks. Tell us about this.
So this is really exciting. So when we went into some of these bars and we were chatting to the bartenders, we found when they were making their own coffee liqueurs that a lot of them were playing around with different flavour profiles. So I've noticed a lot of bartenders starting to create espresso martinis and adding a bit of PX sherry into them. So the PX espresso martini. And so we were talking about different casks that we could finish the coffee liqueur in. So we've got our first one that's being rested at the moment, which I've tasted recently, and it tastes amazing. And it's a PX sherry cask from Jerez in Spain. And it gives it an extra sweetness, but obviously it's just from the cask.
So this is kind of like almost stepping into whiskey territory.
The whiskey process.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. And actually, when I talk to, you know, I directly go into the bars and talk to mixologists, they're really excited about this as well. So we'll have a different range of different, you know, we might have different sherries, maybe a whiskey, you know, we'll have a different cask range. So
they give it a smoky kind of taste as well.
Well, the PX one, because PX sherry is just so sweet, so it gives it's a very different taste, but it's I'll have to come back and bring some. So we should be launching that in July. And we've also got a ready-to-drink espresso martini coming out in June. And we feel that it is the coffee lover's espresso martini and the best one you'll get in a can.
Amazing. So is this going to be in retail where consumers can get it directly?
Yes.
And is it a can? How is it presented?
It's a can. It's a bar quality and strength, so it'll be 15%. It's got solo coffee in there as well, so it's literally what you're drinking now is what is in our can. So we're very excited about that.
Perfect. And just talk to us about shelf life and stuff. So, for the coffee, Solo Coffee, how long does that last once you've opened it?
12 months unopened, and then once opened, it's best to have it within 28 days.
20. Okay, fine.
Quite a long
yeah,
time.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the magic of Tetra Pak, to be honest.
Keeping things fresh.
But it is just coffee and water in our product, so there's not much to go wrong.
You just need to make those espresso martinis, and then you'll get through it quite quickly.
Well, I summer is coming up. I just feel like I would like to have. I love having iced coffee in the summer, and I just feel like this would be really nice to have a bottle of this in the fridge to have that option.
I'll leave that carton with you.
Perfect.
My husband used to go through a process. He'd literally go to the coffee machine, put coffee over ice, and then have to add milk. And it's quite a process. So have this as an option is great.
Yeah, and as I was saying earlier, I always feel like it needs something sweeter in it.
It's so funny. As soon as it starts to get a tiny bit hot outside, our online sales just go crazy, and it like catches us by surprise every year, because most of our business is selling to bars, and they use it for espresso martinis. But obviously, the at-home consumer just goes mad for iced coffees.
Yeah, it's barbecue heaven, right?
Yeah, and we also do a boozy iced coffee, which...
Tell me more.
Well, yeah, sorry to jump on that, Theo, but you just add, obviously there's Solo in our coffee liqueur, but you just add milk to the CAFÉ SOLO coffee liqueur.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it becomes if you're doing brunch and you fancy a boozy iced coffee, then that's the way to go.
Amazing.
Nice.
That sounds wonderful. And let's talk about where you can buy CAFÉ SOLO.
Yeah, so we only launched in March, so we're very new. So which is why it's so wonderful to be able to talk about it. And we're on Amazon and Drink Finder and Master of Malt online. And obviously currently, speaking to the on-trade and getting out in some of those bars. So let's keep the conversations going, and hopefully we can get into a retailer soon. But
well, can I just say, from a PR point of view, if you launched in March and you're already in them retailers, you're doing great, guys. Amazing, really, really good,
and wonderfully that you're doing a giveaway with us on our Instagram account. So have a look out, and you could win the full kit for making an espresso martini, which will be amazing. And then Solo Coffee, you are giving our listeners 20% off on your website.
That's right.
Do you want to just tell us what your website is?
It's solocoffee.co.uk. You can buy it there, and then on Amazon, Ocado. But yeah, like I said, not much retail for now.
But if you buy on Amazon, I mean, that's great. I mean, most people...
And then you don't have to go to the supermarket and get loads of bottles of stuff for a party. I think you cater for the party size.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Sadly, we've come to the end of our show, but big thank you to Theo Garcia from Solo Coffee and Holly Harwood from CAFÉ SOLO for coming on the show. You've been listening to Food Rebels, which is available on radio stations around the UK. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Audible. Please remember to subscribe and rate us with 5 stars, hopefully, as it makes a huge difference to our podcast. We are also on Instagram at food_rebels_. So give us a follow. And if you'd like to come on the show, send us a DM. Thanks for joining us, and make sure you taste the rebellion.